Okay, so let's, oh, not that one. We're gonna open up our project in Photoshop, okay? And we are going to work on the hydrology of our site, okay? And the way I envision this working is, let's turn on our imagery, okay? And just have your watershed boundary, rivers and streams and lakes on, okay? I want us to depict all of the hydrology taking place within our watershed, but I also, and this is the critical part of this entire project, is I want us to show where the water is leaving our watershed. Because remember, every watershed has one point where the water that is caught within the shed, all that rainwater, eventually leaves. Okay. Now, you also may have a watershed that has a river coming into it. You know, like the Mississippi River, for example. There's several regional watersheds within that enormous drainage basin. Okay, so they're all going to have the Mississippi going in and out of it. So keep that in mind as well. All right, now I had a very tricky watershed, and you are going to need to do some research online about your actual watershed. And what was throwing me off a lot was the fact that this Cumberland River here, it is dammed up in several places, but it also flows north in this area. And if you turn on your terrain, okay, this is going to help you. Make sure your black backdrop is on, and then just your height and your gradient map. Okay, so remember, your darkest areas are your lowest elevation. And so I kept looking at this and I'm like, really, is all this water flowing this direction? And then I realized, of course, these are dams here, okay? And so that's why you have this dramatic change from these almost lake-like appendages, and then you have a sudden stop, and then just a thin trickle going into the Ohio River, okay? And so that's where the water exits this watershed, okay, is with this Cumberland River. Okay, this is really outside of my shed, but this Cumberland River feeds into the Ohio River. And these boys said, well, we ain't gonna give it all to Ohio. We're gonna put a dam here, and we're gonna keep as much as we can for drinking water. And that is why water is such an enormous issue these days, because some states are taking, are preventing other states from having water. Okay, so what I am going to do is I'm going to leave the Ohio River in place, okay, and then of course, as I said, all of this other hydrology is going to stay in place as well. So the way we're going to do that is, and again, make sure you go online, okay, and find out the names of your rivers, and you really need to know your watershed, okay, at this point. And this is what I was talking about with the mega sheds, okay. This is not a huck, okay. This would be a huck mega, all right. It's just, these are the Rocky Mountains, okay. So this is the Continental Divide, and the Mississippi. All of these regional watersheds eventually drain out in to the Gulf and through New Orleans. That's why they have some terrible floods at times. Okay, so jumping back into Photoshop. So this is how we are going to work with our hydrology here. So let's open up our states. We can turn this on, and really the reason I want it on is just so we can have this white backdrop. Okay, so let's close that and lock it. Okay, now what we want to do is, and in this case we definitely need to be working with masks. Okay, so we're going to select our watershed boundary, and we're going to tap W for the magic wand tool. Okay, and we're going to click outside of our watershed. Okay, now I want you to zoom in, and if you see a line, these marching ants is what some people call them. If you see this on both sides of your watershed boundary, hold down Control and tap D for deselect. And then make sure you have these settings, okay, for your magic wand. It needs to be on contiguous, uncheck sample all layers, that'll throw everything off. And then your tolerance really can be, you know, like about a 9 or so. And then if you click out here, what you've selected is everything outside of your shed. Okay. So we want to mask this area off for both our rivers and our streams and our lakes, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna click on this guy first. Now, black conceals, okay? That black is the mask that will conceal your data. It does not delete it, it doesn't erase it, it just hides it, okay? And if you tap X, you're gonna put your black swatch in the back, okay? Now, up on your rivers and streams, we're going to hold down Alt and we will select mask. Okay, great. Now, we are gonna select this mask and we wanna duplicate it. And remember I was saying, anytime you hold down Alt and move something, you will make a copy of it. So that's what we'll do here. Just hold down Alt and drag your mask down. Okay, awesome. So now we have hidden all of our hydrology except for what is within our watershed. Now you want to depict where this water is going out of your watershed, and we are showing that. But we also want to follow that line outside of the shed, okay, kind of for dramatic purposes. So let's right click on our layer mask and we're going to disable that. And it looks like I really just need to follow. This is Ohio River is what really makes the boundary here. So that's going to be easy for me to work with, okay? Because what I need to do now, right click, we're going to enable the mask. And now I can paint with white here, okay? And that is going to reveal what we're hiding with the mask. Okay, so the mask is selected. This is how masks work. And we are gonna tap B for our brush, okay? And then use your brackets to get your brush size the way you want it. And if you hold down Shift, look up here, okay? See how my brush has a very soft edges? If you hold down Shift and use your right bracket, you'll make it harder, and your left bracket will make it softer. Okay, so I'm going to leave it right about there. Now, again, we need to paint with white, so make sure you have your black and white swatches, and then tap X to bring white to the front, and then I can just paint where I saw, you know, this river. I'm going to give it a little. And this is really where our project is going to shine when we hang it, because then it's really going to register to people that, hey, they really are showing me the way watersheds work. And I got lucky. I got a legitimately closed watershed. Okay, I'm actually going to turn the states off. See, so this is where the water is exiting my watershed. It's feeding this Ohio River. Okay, and it's really gonna shine in 3D, especially with this guy, because the water is going north at this point, and we can prove that in 3D. Okay, so again, remember, we're creating one material here, and it's going to include all of our imagery. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. And it's going to include our title block. Okay, so now the watershed, I want these rivers and streams to bump up a bit, okay? And so what I'm gonna do here, let me see what the lakes are. Oh, those are actually the lakes, they're calling them. Okay. So these guys were the rivers. Let's do a color. Well, first let's multiply. So let's select these guys and choose multiply. Okay, and then hit escape so you get out of there. Okay, so that immediately helps. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then see what would happen if I just held down Alt and duplicated those guys. Okay, now we're talking. Control 0. Now we're because this is really what we're after. We really want to get that shining. And so what I did here was I selected these two layers. I just held down Alt and dragged up. And then they were all within, and then we just made copies of them. Okay, so that is it for your watershed delineation. I'm gonna hold down Control and tap S, okay? And I will see you in the next video.